Good morning. It is 7:01 and you are tuned in to the Real Monica Adams show. We are in our Invita Health and Wellness studios. So nice to be back. And look, it looks different today, doesn't it? It's time for love as we get ready for Love Month in February. So we have gone from more of the Christmas and winter decorations into Valentine's. And we have to thank Michelle Harmon for getting that all ready for you. We're also going to have some really beautiful Valentine's flowers that we will incorporate into the set coming up for you in about a week. And those will be from our friend Sarah Ward at Wildflowers. Next time you need some beautiful flowers for any occasion, please remember her. She's in Lafayette and they have some of the most beautiful arrangements you will ever see. Very unique. So if you want something more unique for your loved one, this Valentine's and birthdays, etc., think about Wildflowers again in the city. We've got a handful of things to run down for you today, including the weather. We don't have What the Weather with Beckett Moore today. We'll be checking in with him next week. He's going again to the Storm Chasers event in Dallas on Thursday and Friday. But he did give us the forecast, and it's not going to change too much, so didn't want to bog him down with having to get up for the next several days. I do have that forecast, though. Not like yesterday, but it's not horrible. Yesterday, didn't you enjoy that gorgeous sunshine? I hope you got out and enjoyed that with maybe a walk or some exercise or with your dogs or your kids. We will see that beautiful sunshine come back this week. Today, though, don't count out a possible light drizzle or even a little pop-up shower that you could have depending on where you live. So grab the umbrella. You might have that a little bit later today. Our high only in the low to mid 40s, but then the weather for the next several days, it just continues to go up, up, up. So we're going to enjoy this after the ice and the snow that we had the last couple of weeks. For tomorrow, look for a high in the low to mid 50s with some sunshine, partly cloudy, and then gorgeous sunshine for Thursday and Friday. Get this, folks. You're not hearing this wrong. Low to mid 60s for the high as we go into February, which sometimes is our hardest month. Now, does that mean we're out of the woods? We'll check in with Beckett on Monday with the What the Weather segment. All right, let's talk about some things that are trending. Super Bowl 58 is coming up on February 11th. All right, the stage is set, as I mentioned yesterday, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. But here's the thing that's trending, and I would love to look at some comments from you. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, again, of course, have been all over this season, and they constantly show shots of her with every pass that goes from Mahomes to Kelce, all the celebrations. But here's what the Las Vegas odds makers are putting out there. They're saying that people are going to bet, I think this is more so in Canada, that they're going to bet on whether or not Travis Kelce asked Taylor Swift to marry him. Will there be an engagement proposal? So they're betting on that. What do you think? I'm going to put that out to my audience. As well, I want to know what you think about who's going to win the Super Bowl and by what spread. Okay, so right now the Vegas odd makers are talking about Kansas City winning. They truly believe that they will inch it out. Will be a blowout? No. Some of the odds makers are saying, let me have another week or so and maybe it'll change up a little bit. But for right now, they're saying that Kansas City will win. What are your thoughts on that? And then what do you think about this whole trending thing about Travis Kelce asking Taylor to marry him? They haven't been together very long, have they, first of all? I don't know. There's some people that still think it's just a ploy, just to help the two of them, and that it'll go back to Taylor just breaking up and writing a song about him and doing male bashing, which a lot of people get frustrated with her about from her past songs. What are your thoughts? I know I've got some big fans of Taylor out there, these Swifties that are out there, so I'd love to know what you think. I'm going to look down at some comments. You can weigh in at the beginning or you can weigh in near the end. I'll look at them throughout. Okay, I want to give you an idea of some things that are coming up on the show. We have a really awesome makeup tutorial show that's coming up tomorrow. I'm going to take this show on the road. We're going to go down to Chesterfield to Salon Lofts, and Sherry Anderson, who's going to be getting ready to leave to go to New York Fashion Week, she has been picked to do that again. This isn't her first time around. Not only is she going to be the one that's going to be doing a lot of the beautiful hair and makeup, but she's leading teams. I mean, that's how far she's gone. So much so that she's following her passion and finally doing her dream, and she will be opening Sheer Studios in the Chesterfield Valley, right over by Annie Gunn's in the old Dominic Michael location. And so we'll talk to her about that. We'll talk to her about her dreams, but you're going to get what you've been asking me for, which is a makeup tutorial. And she was writing me this morning and she said, how about this, Monica? How about we take a daytime look and show just the quick changes you can make for a really gorgeous nighttime look? And so her thing is, how about we go from Monica to Monique? And I said, vivacious to vavoom. Let's do that. That's tomorrow morning. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We'll showcase one of the best makeup artists best I've ever known in my career. She really is amazing. So anything you want her to kind of showcase, any questions you have, be sure to be really active and comment with us tomorrow. We have Positive Talk Time kicking off with Jessica Cook and the crew at Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa in Cottleville, which is where they run Yuppie Puppies Forever Rescue, all those beautiful dogs that need forever homes. So we've got a whole array of topics that we will be discussing. And trust me, you don't want to miss the beginning of it, because I'm going to crack you up with a topic that I came up with that she said none of us dog owners should ever do. Leave it to the pros, the groomers and the veterinarians. Trust me, it's going to be all out laughter in the beginning. And then we've got a lot of great tips, a lot of really cool things that they're doing with kids, getting you ready in for Valentine's, some really neat things that they do, and how you can adopt your forever baby. Jillian Mealy, do you know her from Fox News? She left, she went back home to Philadelphia to continue to get her MBA. And she and a colleague of hers, a friend of hers, Justine Ward, they started their own show. It's called Credentialed. They are my live guest on Friday morning. And then we will be taping, unless you want me to do it live, we're going to be taping an interview with Allison Arngrim, the actress, better known as Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie days. She's going to be the celebrity guest at the Working Women's Survival Show, February 16th through the 18th at St. Charles Convention Center. She'll speak on the 17th on the main stage. And before she comes on, the Real Monica Adams team will be there. We will be speaking, doing a little motivation and getting the crowd all ready for Allison. So about probably 1:15 or so, I'll take the stage. We'll do about a 30 to 45 minute motivational talk, and I'll actually be there all day with a booth. You'll be able to come by and get some merchandise and find out all the great things we do. I'd love to meet you. So if you're coming to the Working Women's Survival Show, be sure to come by and see our booth. I do want to say something else that I heard in the news this morning also before we bring our guest on this morning. Washington University and Siteman Cancer Center talking about a trend that we do not want to hear, and that is that breast cancer is on the rise for women at a younger age. 20 years old to 49 years old. They're doing a study, and they're actually seeing more of an increase in black women, but it's also seeing an increase in white women in the age of 30 to 39. So the studies continue, but one of the determining factors that they're coming up with is whether or not we need to lower the age when we have those mammograms. They've already lowered it at one point, but does it need to go lower, especially for high risk, at risk women? So you have it in your family. Do you have aunts, mom, grandma, etc.? Please talk to your OBGYN and have those screenings done at an earlier age. Just ask for it. I know sometimes it might be that, is it covered by insurance or not covered by insurance? Well, I'll tell you what, I'd be willing to pay, if it's not, to be able to detect something at an earlier age. So those are some of the things that I heard that is news you can use. I'm leaving out all the rest that you don't need in your day. None of the negativity, just news that you need for your life and to pass along to others that you love. Speaking of love, Casey Tiskowski, she is going to be my guest over the next hour. We're going to talk about love. We decorated the set for Valentine's and for Love Month, but how are your relationships going on? Now, this could be actual love relationships. This could be a relationship within your family, with good friends. How are you as a person? So she helps with all of that. We're going to go back, though, in her beginning years, and then how she really got to hone in and specialize on working with couples. What I want from you is to be open and raw in this next, 50 to 60 minutes, to ask any questions, kind of say, that sounds like me. I'm struggling with my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my partner. We are going to talk about coming into counseling maybe before you ever get married, and then maybe maintenance. But if you're really struggling and you're even holding on by a thread, that means there's still hope. And hope is what this show is all about. So, Casey Tiskowski, she will be in the blue chair when we return. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment, or online envitahealthandwellness.com.
Hi, it's Monica Adams. Thank you so much for following along with The Real Monica Adams Show since we launched back in March. But I wanted to let you know there's so much more that I could do with you, your business, your corporation. Did you know that I'm a motivational speaker all around the world, as well as an MC and an auctioneer? So if you have an event, maybe a nonprofit organization, and you want to book me, just shoot me an email, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Personal training, life coaching, and styling as well. Info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com.
Welcome back. It is 7:12, and welcome to the Love Room. It's the Invita Health and Wellness Studios, and the show is The Real Monica Adams. If you are brand new to our show, welcome aboard. I know every time we have new guests come in, we've got new followers, and that's what I want for you to share and like and follow to your friends all over. If they're not on Facebook, by the way, have them watch on YouTube. And our platforms are continuing to grow. You know, last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I thought, let's try to get us on X. We did. Now I'm looking at Instagram, we're looking at Rumble. When we come to the audio podcast side, which is every Thursday when we drop a new show, that's on all of the platforms. So be sure to look for us there. So a brand new show for you every Thursday. For some of you, now you may have seen it already, but you haven't actually just taken it in and received the message and heard it. So Thursdays for that, and then every day for our show this way. Okay, so welcome aboard. Let me introduce our guest, Casey Tiskowski. I have been saying her name right all this time that I've been promoting this. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you actually know a stranger to this building.
Yes.
So you moved in with your counseling services how long ago?
We opened in October of 2023, full-time. I was doing part-time at kind of a co-op space on a lower floor, but full-time, my own space was just in October, so not too long ago.
You know, Casey, it's so fun to talk about just that alone. I have so many people that we've had in this chair talk about their dreams and their passion and following that and taking the leap. So before you did that, we're going to go into the background of you, but I also want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank
this
you.
beauty served in the Navy?
Yes.
How long?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years. What made you go into the Navy? There she is.
That's one of my, I think I'm in Russia in that picture, actually. What made me go into the Navy? I wish I had some like really cool story, but I wanted to do something in like law enforcement, and I was like at a career fair, and I wasn't doing well in college, and they were like, you could just join the military for a few years, and I was like, well, maybe I could do that. And you know, my dad is retired military, and so I went into the recruiter's office and, you know, went out with all my friends that night after, and I was like, I think I'm going to join the military. And they all kind of like laughed at me because I was like 20 years old, and
they're like, sure you are.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'll show you. And I left 2 weeks later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for your service.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to the woman that I'm going to feature tomorrow.
Yes.
She did the same thing. She went into the Air Force. and again, you know, it teaches you so much.
I loved it.
So what's your biggest aha moment from your years of serving?
I mean, just like the traveling, I learned to be so independent because I pushed myself. I learned how to push myself because I had, you know, I grew up in Houston and St. Louis. I call myself a half-breed, and I had never left the country, nothing, and went off to boot camp, 21 years old, and then went to school, and they said, well, where do you want to go? And I said, I don't know. Send me to another country. and that's what I did. And I picked up and I went to Italy, moved to Italy all by myself, 21 years old. And then after that, they were like, well, where do you want to go next? And I was like, well, let's see the other side of the world, and went to Japan, you know, 23, 24 years old, all by myself. And so it just kind of pushed me to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, I love it. She just said my favorite phrase.
Yes. Yeah. And that's something I carried with me, a lot. That, and they teach you in the military, don't come to us with a problem unless you have a potential solution. It doesn't have to be the solution, right? But like, come with a solution. And that's kind of a motto I've carried for myself in my life too, because, you know, how am I going to help you if you can't even begin to help yourself?
Right.
Like we got to start somewhere.
That's a really powerful thing, and I think that's the thing that when let's just use a doctor for instance. They'll say there's so much that I can do, but what are you willing to do?
Yes.
We mentioned that yesterday, that we have to take our own responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure in the counseling you have to do that. Like, look, I can bring you some tools,
Absolutely.
but if you're not willing to put in the hard work, right?
Right.
Let me reintroduce. Casey Tuskowski is in with us, and we're going to be talking about couples today and how she came about to really focus in on couples, because it's not the only people that she has helped counsel over the years. And let me do this for you. I want you to give us some aha moments. I want you to ask any questions that you want of Casey. I'll be looking at your comments throughout the show, and we'll also let you know how you can get in touch with Casey if you are struggling in your own relationship. That's the main thing. We don't want you to continue on one more day and not be at the best that you personally and then you together can be. So you've been a counselor for how long?
I have been a counselor. Oh gosh, you're gonna make me math. What year is it? 2024. I graduated in 2018. So 6 years.
Going on 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years.
And so when you started, so you right now, you're when we told you that she went out on her own, did her leap, did the specialization, it's New Outlook Counseling.
Yes.
And you're located here in the, there it is, New Outlook Counseling Services.
Yeah.
She's located in 1034 South Brentwood in the same building as us, right across from the Galleria. But you also, because I was talking to you, there's some looking at the space.
Yes,
you
my
are
office.
also able, though, as long as it's in the state of Missouri, you're able to do counseling via Zoom. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I do offer virtual sessions, which was tricky because it's such a personal thing. And I wasn't sure how I was going to adapt to virtual services because I was so worried we'd lose so much. But I actually have come to love the access it gives people. Because, I am licensed in the entire state of Missouri. So I do have clients in different parts of Missouri. And that's our only option is virtually. And it works fantastic.
I know it is. So it's the same thing when I do my personal training and life coaching. I'll go, I think you need to be in front of me. Oh, never mind. This works.
know.
Like some of my clients that I personal train, they're like, no, I get my butt kicked, Monica. You hear us. We're sweating over here. We're huffing and puffing. So a lot of people had to do that, right, as we went through the pandemic. It helped to keep your services alive and available. So if you, and I do have a couple that I want to introduce you that in Cape Girardeau, and I knew it would be hard for them to travel in regularly. So I'm hoping she's listening. If not, we'll share the show with her because she and her husband are struggling. And we'll get to that in just a second. So you didn't start out with couples, though. So the beginning of your counseling.
I did not.
Let's talk about where you started.
I started with addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was going to school, you start that whole journey of like, what exactly do I want to do? And there was a period where I was like, oh, teens, adolescents, and I still have a special place in my heart for them. But I was like, I don't want to focus just on them. And then I fell in love with like marriage and family. And I thought about getting licensed as an LMFT, licensed marriage and family therapist. But I didn't want to box myself in because there was still that interest in teens and individuals. And everybody, all my mentors were like, you can still do marriage and just be an LPC, don't worry about that. So, but that was my goal, was like marriage and family. And then it was time to pick an internship. And as most people know, like you have to start kind of in the trenches. And so there were not a lot of cushy marriage and family internships. It was severe mental health disorder hospital settings or this day program. I was living in Virginia Beach at the time, and there was this adult day program for people struggling with substance abuse. And I had kind of said to myself, like, gosh, I never want to do substance abuse. It felt very intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Like,
but you said you like to be taken out of your comfort zone.
I did. And so when they offered me that position, I was like, okay, right? Because even though it wasn't something I thought I would want to do, I wanted to get uncomfortable, and how do you know until you know? Sure. And so I took the internship at the day program, and I mean, I don't even think it was a week before I was like, this is it for me. I loved it.
What was the most fulfilling?
Seeing, gosh, I might get emotional.
Hey, that's what the show's about, being real.
Because that's where my heart for counseling really, I mean, it was always there, but that's where it just like exploded. Seeing people want so badly to be better versions of themselves. and fight. I mean, they fight. And so I was really fortunate that while working in the addiction field, because I did that for a very, very long time, families pulled into that, obviously, right? The people supporting their loved ones suffering from addiction, the spouse, reconciling relationships. And so I still got to do that family piece too, which was just amazing. And then after doing addiction for a really long time, I just felt like it was time for me to kind of go out on my own and focus on more marriage and family and leave the addiction behind, which I miss it, but
you did
I'm
a lot of great
excited,
work. You
yeah.
wouldn't have had that emotion come over you if you didn't, because I'm sure what just went through your head and your heart at that point was, gosh, let's think of all the work that was done. And like you said, the person who has the addiction, that's one level. There's so many layers of who's all affected, depending on if they're involved with someone, if they're married, if you have
Yes.
children of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, whatever the abuse is that's there, the addiction that's there, it has so many layers. And you see an entire family torn apart.
Absolutely.
That's hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a quick break. We're talking with Casey Tiskowski. We're going to move into how she started to specialize with couples. And also a funny thing that came up when we had breakfast together of what she was told, you have a lot of blank clients. How did that come about? We're going to talk about that. We'll have more with Casey when we return.
We need women to lift women up.
Let's do that. Let's go. Being on Monica's show, it was like one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Monica's very real, and she really cares about people.
She's changing lives.
Changing lives.
I think this is just really what people want to see.
Giving back so much to the community, and I really appreciate it.
Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with her viewers and her listeners.
Made the interview process like talking to a friend.
How are you doing?
Haven't seen you in a few weeks.
Hey. You're close.
Monica. Whoa.
So go out in this world and be anything you want to be. But before you do that, first, be kind.
Welcome back. We're having fun in the studio. It's 7:24 and just visiting with Casey Tiskowski, which I had a chance to do about a couple weeks ago. We had breakfast. We started talking about this idea that I had wanted to do actually in 2023, and we didn't do it just yet. So we get into 2024, and I said, I'm so big on trying to help people heal on multiple levels. And then I meet this woman. I have to thank George, because my director, one of my directors, George Wise, the two of you met in the elevator, right?
Yes.
Coming off the elevator?
Yeah.
And you were just looking around trying to let people know that
Poking
you're in the
around.
building, right?
Yeah, my colleague and I, she has her own private practice as well, and we joined forces to get our space, and we actually met working at my former place of employment with addiction, and we were both ready to take the leap, and so one day we were just like, let's see who's in the building, and start to introduce ourselves, and there was George, and he was like, are you lost? And
No, I want you to know I'm here.
Kind of, but not really.
Well, I'm glad that
Yeah.
George met you. And we did. We connected right away. Michelle, you met my husband.
Yes.
My true love. And I want everyone to have that kind of love that the two of us have. And sure, it's not all, that's the thing. People look at pictures of us, Casey, and it's always like, oh, you guys have no, and I'm like, it's just a picture, right? You can't judge. You never know what's going on behind the scenes with someone. I will tell you that, yes, it's a great place. And I had a really beautiful follower who's become a good acquaintance and friend. She reached out last night, and it's coming up on 18 months since she lost her husband to cancer. And she said somebody told her, a therapist told her, the second year is the hardest. And she's like, boy, aren't they right? And she's looking to try to do a vacation. But I said, I've been thinking a lot about the two of you. And she responded, I think about you and Jim often. You have the same kind of love that I had with my Michael. And so, Karen, this is kind of to you, that you had that love. And if you're watching, or if anybody knows her, you can say that kind of love is what you hope for everybody. And I know that's why Casey does what she does. I want to say something, though, from your mom. So your mom's on here. She's actually said a couple things. She wanted to see the world on someone else's dime. She's put an LOL. That's Mama. And then she said, Casey's mom here, so proud of this wonderful, caring, and big-hearted person.
Oh, she wants me to cry again.
It's like Barbara Walters, watch out. So yes, our family, our connection, our relationships with every level. You are blessed to have one of your biggest supporters.
Yes.
And I
yes,
said that's where
absolutely.
she and I are similar. My mother is my biggest. My dad passed away when I was 24, but the same thing. It's like we want
Yeah.
those amazing relationships, and we know not everybody has those. Trying to find a connection somewhere. So how do you get into one, really wanting to specialize in couples? And then the
Yeah.
comment that was made was, you have a lot of male
Yes.
clients,
Yes.
which, by the way, is a great thing that
Yeah.
men are opening
Yeah,
up. How
I
do you
love
think
it.
that came about?
A few of them had known me from where I worked before, and after a certain period of time, they were able to come and join me in my private practice. So that was kind of just like happenstance. And then honestly, the rest, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't advertise towards like male therapy. It's just this like coincidence, which I don't know that I would have ever expected. But I love it.
Right.
I love working with any demographic that people are like, this isn't going to work on them, right? That kind of, that doubt.
But it has.
It has, yeah. Absolutely it has.
So let me ask you this. In your couples counseling, now, so let's ask it two different ways. So if they come to you by themselves, does it take much to get them to open up? Does it take a couple of sessions? Because most men have always been taught to not communicate,
Yeah.
to not show emotions. Does it take a little bit? And in a couples counseling, do they hold back and let the woman start it more?
Males in individual counseling definitely take a little bit longer to warm up. Not as much as I've seen now that I'm in private practice, because obviously they've sought me out. They're already hitting a place where they're ready. Sometimes it is that like, oh, so-and-so says I need counseling, so here I am.
Rolling of the eyes.
And we work through that like, oh, where do you think they see a issue? And in couples, I mean, yes, it is usually the female like taking the reins, but it doesn't take long for the male to kind of jump in and kind of start to stand up and say, here's what I need, here's what I value, here's what I want, here's what I see needing work. And so that's always good to see people come out of their shells in therapy.
Absolutely.
And there's no rush. They got to take their time. You want to be comfortable. I want them to be comfortable, because that's where the work's going to be done.
Right. You have to have that space of trust.
Yes, absolutely.
So for all of you that are watching right now and listening, so maybe you're running around the house and you're hearing this right now, and all of a sudden you're stopping because it's connecting with your heart. It's like that heart work that we want to do. And you say, gosh, this is me. I'm struggling with my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, girlfriend, my partner, whoever, whatever level. What makes them stop and hear and think, you're talking about me, and then making the call?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of times people get to a place where it's bad before they stop and they make that call. And that breaks my heart. I remember...
Because so much work could have been done before that?
Correct, yeah.
Gotcha.
I remember when I sat down with an LMFT, right? Little college kid, like, oh, I want to learn all about this field. And she was a little cynical. She was great. But she said to me, like, oh, you don't want to focus on marriage. And I said, why not? And she said, the success rate in marriage therapy is terrible. Right? And
She gave up already.
yeah. And I was like, oh, that kind of like took me by surprise. I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, most people are coming to marriage therapy because it's already too late. They've already hit rock bottom. And that did not make me shy away. If anything, it made me think like, well, how do we change that? And so that's been a big goal of mine when I started kind of refocusing on couples and marriages. Hey, let's get you in before you hit rock bottom. Let's get you in so that you have the tools to not get to this place. But unfortunately, I do think there are still a lot of people out there who they wait until it's too late. They wait until they've already given up, or there's not a lot of hope left. And I'm not saying if you wait that long, it is hopeless. I've definitely pulled some people out of some dark places. Yeah. But I also have couples that are coming to see me because they want to get married and they want to make sure they have the right tools. And I have couples that are coming to see me that are like, our marriage is pretty good, but
It could be better.
There's some disconnects. And I love that. And I'm like, yes, come in now. And we don't have to meet every week, right? We meet like once a month. We check in. And I always preach to them, let's create a space where you come in here and we hash these difficult things out. So when you're not in this office, in my office, you can focus on being present with each other, with your family, and not have to like kind of carry all these heavy things around all the time.
Again, Casey Tiskowski is my guest, and we're talking about her practice now, focusing on couples here, again, in the Brentwood, Richmond Heights area. Give your phone number, by the way, for people that are thinking, hey, I need a good counselor. Monica trusts her, so I'm going to trust her.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you know it?
Yeah, I think I do.
Here, never mind. There it is on the screen.
Oh, I do know it. That's what I was going to say. Look, you get so used to, like, not having to give that out by mouth that I do know it. I knew that's what it was, so I'm impressed with myself. Yeah.
So there you go, 314-626-5033. A lot of people like to go online and kind of read background on someone.
Yeah.
NewOutlookSTL.com is where you can go to find out more
Yes.
information. That was cute.
Yeah.
So I know, and there's the website, by the way. We want to show you a little bit about her. You can read up about some of the things that she's done, again, that we've been talking about, the About Us, and how they can help. So, Casey, when it comes to, I love the fact that you said people want to come before. So it's pre-marriage, during marriage, saving the marriage, whatever level. If you want more, and, you know, I think that should just be us as an individual and then connected, that we always can level up, right? Don't you agree with that? That there's always a better version instead of just becoming complacent.
Absolutely, yeah. Complacency is the right word, right? I see that a ton when couples come in. They're just not trying anymore. And I get it. You've been together a long time. It's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to feel like we've got this false sense of security. So yeah, getting complacent is a big factor in needing couples therapy, and engaging in therapy is a good way to prevent that.
I love this about Casey. So a lot of you, and I wrote that in the description today, are probably familiar with the book, The 5 Love Languages.
Yes.
Okay, but this is really interesting.
Yeah.
What Casey teaches the people that come to her, you say we also have to have another language, which is?
I call it the hurt language, and I should probably like Google if I need to like trademark that or something.
Yes.
Because I just kind of came up with it, and I'm not saying like nobody else has ever thought of it, but it was just something I really felt like needed to be brought into session. And so I always make my couples do the love language, and I get a lot of eye rolls, like, okay. Or they'll even say, well, I know mine. Okay, well, could you just do it again? Humor me, right?
Exactly.
Because they can change based on your needs. And so they come in and they have their love language results, and I'm like, great, let's talk about them. What does that mean? What do you need? Do you know what that means to your partner? And then I say, okay, well, now let's talk about the hurt language. And they're kind of like, the what? And I'm like, the hurt language, right? Because your hurt language is correlated to your love language, right? If your love language is quality time, and this just isn't in romantic relationships. I mean, this is all relationships in your life.
Right.
You know, if you and I, you know, your love language is quality time, and you say, Casey, we haven't gotten together in so long, let's grab lunch. And I say, yeah, that sounds good. And we set a date. And then I text you that morning and I say, hey, I'm not going to make it. You're going to be crushed. Because quality time is so important to you. If quality time is not my love language, if that's on the bottom of my love language list and someone cancels plans on me, I'm going to be like, yes, extra time in bed, right? You know, I'm not going to be upset about that. And you see that in marriages and relationships all the time, where somebody missing the mark on that love language hurts so deeply, and the other person is just like,
What's the problem?
what's the problem? That's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal to you because that's not your love language, but to your partner, that's a huge deal. So we like to focus in kind of on like, not only how are we supporting and loving each other, but hey, let's be mindful of how we're hurting each other too.
Mindful, and I think one of the things that I have found over the years is, and I don't care what it is, you know, from personal training, I always say it's right here, right now. The end of my boxing I was teaching last night, I said, look, we've got 3 minutes left. Do not think about your drive home from here. Don't think about the soreness that's getting ready to come on. Don't think about what's for dinner or what you're doing tomorrow or the connection you have with friends and you're going to go out to lunch tomorrow. Right here, right now, do you have focus on these 3 minutes? Yeah. So do you feel that that is one of the biggest disconnects, that that in a relationship, they're like, yeah, whatever, I heard that her love language is quality time, but they're thinking about something else, all these laundry list of things that are over here, and they're not listening to their partner.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not focusing.
Absolutely. I am always in session reminding people, like, take a minute. Not everything has to be hashed out, resolved right there in that second. Take that minute always to pause, think, check in, and then move forward accordingly, because we're so, especially in life, you're married, you have kids, you have full-time jobs. I get it. We're busy. Everything's go, 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 go. So yeah, that's a huge, huge piece of it, is always kind of walking around in your marriage, being mindful, trying to stay present and checking in to say like, okay, am I present right now? Am I focused on my marriage? Am I doing what I need to do? Or do I need to go regroup real quick? And it's okay to go regroup real quick. It's okay to tell your partner, I'm not in the headspace for this right now, because nothing's going to come of it if you're not. So take that break and go take that minute to check in with yourself. Take that minute to journal out all the thoughts clogging up your mind so you can focus on what you and your partner need to focus on.
You know, I'm big on journaling. Love journaling.
Yes.
And again, you have to write your own thoughts down. And then, hey, I just came out of counseling. It's fresh in your mind.
Right.
This is what we think was progress today.
Right.
Or I'm still hurting with this, so that they have those notes. They're not missing something when they come to their session next time.
Absolutely.
So we've got a couple comments here. Kathy says, pre-marriage is beneficial. Any counseling gives tools to help individuals and couples. And then Mary says, how about screen time language? One may think no big deal, or hey, I don't feel like you're being present. Screen time language.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So that comes up with quality time. And I hear that a ton. And the people who come in and they're like, my love language is quality time. And their partner's like, well, I sat on the couch with you and watched a movie. Okay, but were you staring at your phone the whole time? Well, yeah, but I was there. Right? Well, that's not quality time.
They're not being present.
Correct. Yeah. So a person whose love language is quality time, they are not going to be okay with you scrolling while you're watching a movie, even though you're present, like physically present.
Right.
And that goes into like the hurt language, right? Someone whose love language is quality time, they're going to be like, whatever, scroll on your phone. I'm just happy we're sitting next to each other. But
Right. I mean, well, think about this right now. So Casey's talking, and if I was just rude and like, oh, I'm sorry, we're doing a show here. Okay, well, yeah, I got to pay attention to her. It's that kind of thing that gets frustrating with people. And I'm sure that you hear that over and over and over again from a person who that is their love language. They just want you to be present.
Yes.
The other person might be and this is why there's such a disconnect, and that's why I think those love languages and hurt languages are so key, because the other person might be like, well, you don't ever touch me. Well, that's okay, it's not my thing.
Right, who
I know, but
cares?
it's my thing.
Yep.
So how do we get the connection there? I think, I'm going to take a break there. That's a really powerful question, and I want you, all of you, off of this question, if you're willing, tell us. If you're struggling in your relationship right now, the more raw and real we are, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little insight on my relationship with Jim and where we have a disconnect, but also what brings us back together, because I think we all need to find that hope that's there. Casey Tiskowski, once again, newoutlookstl.com. Check out that website, and when it comes to, hey, I think it's time for us to have counseling, I want you to think of her. She's out there for you. Why not let her help you with the services that she offers? More with Casey when we return.
You are truly an incredible human being, and just what you're doing is so inspiring. This was really a cathartic experience for me. So I appreciate you, love you.
It's been an honor to not only just be here on set with you, but just to sit in your presence. You inspire everyone around you, from your motivational speaking to your podcast here, to just being the human that you are.
It's just such a joy to be able to see you at this point in your career. Really following your passion, fulfilling your dreams, and encouraging other people to do the same.
I feel that I've been missing out. I believe God places people like you in people's lives for a reason. You have definitely been a God wing for me.
Welcome back. It is 7:40, and we are visiting with Casey Tiskowski, and she is doing just this. This was my word of the day yesterday. Can you see that? Impactful. She is making a difference in this life, and if you feel that something's missing in your own, on whatever level, you individually, you with your family, you with your partner, well, let's find a way to work on that. Why continue on and not do that? So Casey and I were talking at the break. It's not just couples that she helps. It's the individuals. It's the entire family unit. It's many levels of that. So we're going to get to that in just a second. But it's how we ever get from hurt to understanding, and this is where I want to go a little deeper with it. So if, again, here's the assumption, Casey. A lot of women will say, oh, I already know their love language. All men, all they do is think about sex.
Yes.
Every guy out there, physical touch is their number one language. What have you found? Is that true?
No, it's not. It's usually at least up there, but no, it's not always the primary love language.
No.
So
don't make assumptions about your partner. First of all, it's something to learn from that.
Yes.
But how do we ever get to truly, I guess we have to get out of our own way and obviously care about the person that you have allowed in your life to understand, here's my love language, but this is theirs, and we have to nurture both.
Right. That's a barrier we hit a lot, especially when a couple comes in with two very different love languages. And I always try and empathize and, validate that if your partner's love language is low on yours, it is going to be hard to be speaking that because it's not at the forefront of your mind, right? If we're in a relationship and your love language is physical touch and that's my lowest, it is not going to be on my mind to hug you and snuggle on you because it's just not my love language. And so it does take that extra step. I compare it to literal languages. If you speak French and I don't,
how are we ever going to connect?
I'm going to have to really struggle to think of the few French words I know, be very conscientious of it, and then deliver that. And so I acknowledge in relationships that it's hard when you're like this, different ends of the spectrum, but it's not impossible.
Well, yeah, because I think the analogy would be if I spoke French and you spoke English, but you really cared about me, you would go, well, I'm going to go take lessons. I'm going to go learn this a little bit at a time because I want to connect with that person. Right. So you would do whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing that I hear loud and clear is if you truly want something to work, if there's still hope, then you're going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, you're going to put the work in. I may never be fluent in your love language, but I'm going to make the effort, right?
Yeah. Oui. So Casey brought up a good point. So it's not just couples, but any couples that are out there, if you have any questions or any comments or you're struggling, let us know what it is that you're struggling with. Because yes, there's a disconnect. I said I would be raw and real. So for me, I see it, but it's hearing it from all relationships around me. Yeah. Monica, you work too much. Monica, there's not enough balance. I'm sure there's a big struggle of that, whether it's the man or the woman, where they feel left out because they're in love with their work.
Yes.
Right? And that gets hard because you're like, well, the person feels like, and this is probably my love language, is I want to do and do and do for others.
Right.
I'm that workhorse of, well, wait a minute, I'm doing this.
Right.
But as we hear so often, but what is the memories that people have? It's the time you spent with them. It's what you create together. It's not that you're gone constantly. Yeah. So I'm trying to pull all that together. It gets hard. So if someone came to you, sat down, whether it's an individual, and they're saying, I'm trying, I thought people would appreciate this, what would you say to that?
In respect to balance and that comes up a lot. Not just in couples, but individuals as well. So many of us are struggling to balance being parents, being employers, employees, spouses, significant others, friends. I mean, we all wear so many hats. And then you have a marriage where it's like, okay, well, now our marriage is feeling the impact of this difficulty balancing things. What do we do? And the biggest thing I remind people is balance. When you talk about balance in your life, it doesn't always mean it's going to be equal, right? I'm not going to give 25% of myself to work, 25% to my spouse, 25% to my children, and 25% to my friends. That's not realistic. It's about what you need in that moment. And that's going to shift constantly because there are going to be times where your job does need more of you and your family's in a good place. Okay, so you're going to shift, give more of yourself to work, right? A couple of days later, something could be happening in your family, work's stable. You might have to shift and not be go 100% into work and give more of yourself to your family. And people struggle with that. They feel like it always has to be equal parts. Or that pendulum swings. It's like, I don't know how to do both. It's going to be 100% to family or 100% to work. And we have to do a lot of work on that, of being able to kind of, again, check in, be mindful and present. how much of me is needed in each area of my life right now, and can I give that?
You know, Casey, one of the things I also found is the people that you trust most with your heart, with your thoughts. I mean, you think of, right now, do this. Think of who, and it's usually a small circle. It should be, because putting trust out there to all could be dangerous. And then you find that that person turned on you and they're saying all these things behind your back, and you're, wow, that hurts my heart. But if you have that circle of trust, think about what you allow of your mind and in your heart that you are able to give them. Those are the people that you should be checking in with. And I do have my individuals around me, and I say, look, check me.
Yeah.
That's what I say on a regular basis. Tell me, and I'm going to give it to you. Tell me I'm working too much. Tell me that I need more time with you. I am very good, and I hope others own this, that if you should be true to your word. If I make plans with Casey, unless it's some circumstance that I absolutely cannot change, then she would understand, because I don't do it on a regular basis.
Right.
If I'm a person that regularly lets you down, that, as you said, that's the hurt language. That's going to hurt you. So if we could categorize, let's break it away from couples for just a second. What is the biggest thing that you see in your counseling from an individual standpoint that you think, this has been so fulfilling because I have been able to help just the masses with this?
Oh gosh.
You see something that ties us all together?
Getting people to have faith in themselves and their future. I love when my clients give me little tidbits, and I had a client come in and she's like, I heard a quote the other day and it reminded me of like what we've been working on. And I was like, oh, I love quotes. What was it? And she said it was, learn to trust your future self with your future problems. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So seeing people get to a place where they come in and they feel, you know, sometimes it's just low self-worth. Sometimes it's circumstances that have led them to a place where they are constantly seeing things not go their way. But where we can get you from a place to feel like there's no hope, like I'm not going to be able to do something, things aren't going to get better, to a place where you're like, okay, maybe there is hope, maybe I can get better, and still be able to sit in uncomfortable feelings and not let that send you backwards is huge. So I guess, just seeing people kind of have that light go off of like, okay, I know I have faith in myself. I know I can make it through this.
Well, that's a lot of self-love. Right? That's a lot of looking yourself in the mirror and seeing hope. We always talk about hope, that, you're in a dark place and you have been, and you haven't come to a counselor to work on anything. And then finally you say, I'm going to make that call. Because you want to be better. I mean, again, there should be no person, no human being walking around just settling with, this is just how life's going to be. When if you look and you read, I mean, that's why people read great books, self-help books, listen to podcasts like this, where suddenly there can be that turn of the page of, oh my gosh, this chapter got better. These are the chapters of my life. Again, we're talking about hope for you. Casey Tiskowski, and newoutlooksTL.com is the website. So what I see in a lot of relationships, and this is around me and myself, is finding true communication. Right? Speaking your truth. That's part of the the 4 agreements.
Yes.
I love both of those books. 5 love languages and 4 agreements. The 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word and speak your truth. Don't assume. All those agreements, I think, fit every man and woman. That we make an assumption. Women do it a lot. Take things personally. Be impeccable with your word. I always love the finding your voice, though. So one of the things that Jim and I'm going to stress this with you, why you all think we have such a wonderful relationship. He's been through a lot of hard times. Prior to coming to me, he felt like he was bringing baggage because he had been married and had kids. And I was like, I don't care. I want to heal you from the past, right? But it was also trust. And here's the biggest thing I'm going to ask you. People who have been cheated on, people who have been hurt, it's every level thereafter of the people that come into their life that's taking that on and trying to teach you that I won't do that to you. And it takes a long time. It took a long time. Jim, even knowing me as a woman, and I abhor cheating, by the way, it will just rip this whole world apart. Think about it. If you're not in love with that person anymore, please be kind enough for yourself and for them to not cheat. Go to therapy. If it's not going to work, then get out of the relationship before you hurt multiple levels of it. Because what I found was, he's thinking that I'm going to do this because it's been done to him in the past. And it took a while, but he said the reason why our relationship is as good as it is because I hold him up, I respect him, I ask him to speak, and I genuinely listen and want to know okay, what's going on? How can I help?
Yeah.
And he had never seen that before. And I'm wondering if you hear that a lot in couples of, I'm not the one that did this to them, and why am I having to deal with it? But I love him so much that I'm okay to take on the baggage.
Yeah.
But you have to really love.
Yeah. I mean, trauma is going to impact people for a long time, if not, to some extent forever at different levels. And I do see marriages where the trauma kind of, I had a couple not that long ago say, I realized now I married him and his trauma, right? And that does take a different layer, but that's part of the counseling process, is getting one person to see the other person's perspective. And once you're able to do that, it helps you not internalize behaviors, right? And so that trauma sometimes comes up in behaviors. The other person takes it personal, even though they're aware, like, I know that you have trauma and that you're bringing things in from your past, but they're still internalizing it. And then it becomes like this present fight when really it's just something that person needs to process on their own. And, the partner may need to set a boundary depending on how the behaviors are playing out.
Sure.
But yeah, it's about kind of accepting and learning that that's a piece of that person forever, and not internalizing how it's being kind of thrown back at you.
Yeah, and again, we mentioned it earlier, trying to help them trust again.
Yeah.
Because they have been hurt by whatever it has been in the past. And you're right, no matter when you get in, like, if you meet somebody and you start dating in your teens and you're with them the whole time, well, great, then you know pretty much about their entire life.
Yeah.
But if you don't meet them till you're 30, 35, 40, women and men are both getting in relationships later, they're getting married later, starting families later.
Yes.
There's this whole thing within the last 10, 15 years of women that are putting their career first, which I think maybe has frustrated a lot of people. So let's talk about the family unit. What have you seen as the topics that come up most when you're healing a family that has brought them to counseling? Could you give us maybe a top 3 that you see on a regular basis of, I hear this come up over and over and over again with families?
Yeah, families, you're going to see a lot of communication deficits. We all struggle with communication, and conflict resolution is a big one too. I always bring in one full session on fighting fair. How do we fight fair? And then that third one is still, I'm going to go back to my love languages, because that's not just husband and wife, it's child and parent, and understanding how other people give and receive love in a family is important.
Yeah, we need to know. Well, you think of teenagers, and when they transition from elementary, they want to be around their parents constantly. Then all of a sudden you see that the parents feel like, wow, I've given you so much, now you want nothing to do with me, and that's hurt.
Yes.
So it goes to that hurt language again. Teenagers think they know everything. You don't. Listen to your parents. But yes, it's trying to get to communicate, because a mom and a son or a daughter, or dad and a son or a daughter, they start feeling the hurt of, wow, you're such a big part of my life, and now you want nothing to do with me. You want to go away to college. You want to just get out there in the world already. And then eventually you'll come back, because we always seek our parents again.
Right.
Let me look at one of these questions. So Kathy said, my husband and I went to a couples retreat for years to celebrate our marriage with our church. One year the message was, intimacy should look like, quote, intimacy. Intimacy. Oh, intimacy.
Yeah.
Got it. Intimacy. Got you. Interesting. I love retreats. What do you think about sending people away for retreats?
I love it. So a big piece that I'm missing from my old job is running groups. I loved doing group therapy, and I hope to bring that into my private practice at some point, and the dream would be to do marriage retreats.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, if I could pull that off at some point, I would love that, just to be able to really have a weekend with people to bring them together, because I think if you can spend 2-3 days together really putting in some work and having fun too, that could be a game changer.
You just want to go to Bora Bora like that movie, Couples Retreat.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get to Bora Bora level retreats, but maybe. Never say never, right?
Let's ask this. So how big of a fight comes from finances?
I don't see as much about finances as I expected.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
I am surprised, because, when thinking about what kind of problems are people going to come to me with for marriage therapy, finances are not one of the top ones. And I don't know if that's like people have just kind of taken an approach of like, I'm just gonna worry about myself, or they're just finding ways to make it work. But I don't see that a lot. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that is a huge fight. But again, that's the finances is the topic. Is there an issue there where we're like not focusing on communication or irresponsibility, lack of security? So I may not always see it because we're getting deeper on like the issue, not the topic.
Interesting. So let's ask it this way. When couples or families or an individual is coming and they do the blame game, how do you redirect that? Because I've always heard it in the way it's stated. Like, he makes me feel, he does this, and instead of, I've heard, how can you change what you're saying so that it softens that, right? Because all people hear is an attack on them,
Right.
and then they're going to shut down in their counseling, aren't they?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I statements are big. I have all my little cheesy things that like I even cringe when I have to bring them into session because I'm like, bear with me, guys. This sounds so like cheesy and love, but it's so important. And I statements are one that people really, really struggle with, So it's the I feel hurt when you, instead of you pissed me off. It's like you can say the same thing very differently and get a much better response and have a healthier communication about it.
How long does it take for them to switch that language, though? Because they're so exposed to, you watch movies, you listen to things, and that's all you hear is, I'm ticked off of this, he did this, she did this to me, and then you have to start learning in a whole new language of, okay, how do I need to say this that he's going to understand?
Right.
When this happens, it makes me feel.
Right.
It's that,
Yeah.
and then suddenly he's listening or she's listening of, oh, well, I didn't know that's how you were feeling. You just told me I'm an idiot, I'm a jerk, I'm a this, I'm a that, and that's attack words.
Right.
And then it takes a heck of a lot longer for them to go, okay, to soften in there. So it's we said it earlier in the hour. What role do we play in this?
Right.
What can we? So it's not just a blame, because if they're coming to counseling as an entire family or couples, if they're blaming everybody else and never taking responsibility, you're not getting anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that goes back to I always am reiterating, like, hey, if there's something going on that you need to talk about in your marriage or with someone in your family, again, taking that minute, taking that breath, checking in with yourself. What's the purpose here? What do I want to get out of this? And always asking yourself, like, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? And dive into that. Watch that word, you.
Yes, because again, there's two people there, and there's two drastically different stories that they come in. And if they go off and talk to their friends, we always are like, well, that's not how she told me. And if you bring the other friends together, be like, oh, wow, they're so disconnected.
Yep.
I'm going to take a break, but when I come back, I want to share a story of someone that I was very, very close, am still very close to, and they were struggling in their marriage and literally had a thread left.
Oh, my gosh.
But I want to tell you where they are today, and we'll do that when we return.
Think about this. When's the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovare Health Advocates, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, their care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, and even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible and they lead your care in and out of the hospital. In fact, Dr. Charles Willie offers his cell phone number to his patients to ensure they can intervene early in your illness. They can provide care above and beyond, offering lab, x-ray, echocardiogram, and other treatments in their office. Innovare Health Advocates with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out, innovarehealth.com.
Welcome back. It is 8 o'clock, and thank you again for tuning in this morning to the Real Monica Adams Show. We're talking about love, and that's love on many levels. Like, yes, you might immediately go to romantic love, but love in general that you're showing to another human being. You know how I always end the show, and I'll do that here coming up, but it's about kindness, showing that to your family, to your children, to your friends, to your coworkers. It's that brings the world together more, but it's also an incredible amount of communication that's needed. So Casey Tiskowski is my guest, and we are talking about counseling. And one thing that I haven't gotten to yet is seeking it out and not feeling like there's a stigma that something's wrong with you, right? We haven't even mentioned that.
Oh gosh,
how hard is it for
do a
someone?
whole episode on stigma.
Well, I want to bring Casey back because do you not feel that there's this great connection? We used to do this on Channel 2, and I think it was so impactful. So I'd love to do something like this more because I really the numbers are really great this morning because people are saying, "Wow, this is me." Trust me, without actually writing, you're listening at home going, "That's me. I'm struggling with my family. I'm just all over the place, and it feels chaotic." So for them, that right now or later, if they're not watching live right now, they're hearing this and they say, "That is me."
Yeah.
There is hope. How do you get them to make that call without thinking there's a stigma that they have a therapist?
The stigma has to end on a bigger level, right? But it starts with you not caring what other people think and understanding that there's no shame in getting counseling. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying where I was first told, like, oh, the success rate is so low in marriage therapy is because people were like, oh, we're going to go to therapy. And this is the same for individuals. We're going to go to therapy when I'm at rock bottom. Well, no. Come before you hit rock bottom. Let's give you those tools so you don't hit rock bottom. And that's where that stigma came from, was because people were waiting so long to even seek therapy that it was, I do have these big major problems, where now it's like, let's make that little problem feel bearable. I have people that just check in monthly just to make sure everything's good. And there's absolutely no stigma in seeing a therapist. It's just, if you want to really just break it down, it's just a safe space to feel heard and validated and kind of get those thoughts out.
Right. I saw something the other day that I thought was very fitting, and I wanted to bring it up today, that everyone that wants to better themselves has a coach. You think of a coach or a counselor.
Right.
So you're a little kid and you're playing in Pee Wee League. They're not out there all by themselves because that would be chaos. They have a coach. High school, you have a coach. College, professional. We're getting ready to watch the Super Bowl. There's a coach that knows what they're doing. They're paid a heck of a lot of money, by the way, to do what they're doing to make sure that there's not chaos out there, that everything ideally goes the way. And if it's not, they go back and do what? They look at film and they say, well, let's work on these things. It's the same thing. Has it gotten better since the pandemic, since a lot of people started talking about mental health more? Has the stigma gone away a little bit?
I think so. I definitely think so. I hate to say it, but I almost think we're like on the cusp of it becoming trendy.
Good.
Right? Like hashtag therapy.
Hey, I got my therapist. Who's your therapist?
Yes, and I'm here for it. I am here for that, not just from a business perspective, but because I have such a passion for people getting help. I tell people all the time, like, reach out. Even if I'm not the therapist for you, I'll help you find the one that is, because I just think it's so important.
No, I like it because it's kind of, I always likened this when I got into doing this show. I thought it'd be great to have my team of experts. And you think of Oprah, right? She made so many people's lives become incredible by their first introduction. You think of Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, Ty. I mean, the levels go on and on and on. But it was, oh, she's got this. For me, as a personal trainer, I'll have an orthopedic surgeon. I'll be, oh, I've got this, right? I've got these people that are on my team. It's the same thing. I would include this level of working on you as an individual. And that's the other thing. How many people that come to you as couples also come to you individually and have their own sessions?
Yes. So I cannot see someone in a couple and individually.
Okay.
It gets blurry. But one of the first things I do when I am seeing somebody as a couple is check in, like, hey, do you each have individual therapists?
So do you help them with that?
I do. I will, yes. And I'll never require it because, I can't force somebody.
Sure.
It's just not going to be effective. But it's highly encouraged that if you are in marriage therapy, then you might want to be doing your own work too, because things are going to get crossed. And quite a few of my couples have been referred to me from therapists who have one of the spouses. Yeah,
I mean, it is. It's key. It goes back to, again, saying how important it is that we work on ourselves before we work on each other, or at the same time we're working on each other.
Yes.
Your mom said, great job, Casey. I love you. I need to meet
Thanks,
Mama.
Mom.
I
Thanks,
love
Mom.
Mama. Mama. So I want to introduce you to Mama Jackie. So Mama Marianne.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
where does Mama live? Is she here local?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
she's local.
So you mentioned you were in Virginia Beach, but St. Louis. So you grew up here?
Mostly.
Kind of, sort
yeah.
of?
I grew up in Houston and then moved about 4th grade, so mostly here.
What area did you grow up in? And when you were in 4th grade? Oakville? Okay. See, so she can call St. Louis home and be ours. One of the stories I promised to share before we wrapped up is good friends of mine. They were very new in their marriage.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, it's new, you're newlyweds, it doesn't matter. But a lot of that hurt came in the first year. I have a lady that was on a class that I had a couple weeks ago, and she said, Monica, I can't wait for you to have Casey on because I want you to talk about how hard it is that, again, people just get into a marriage and think it's going to be incredible in that first year, and they've only been married less than 6 months, and they're struggling.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm trying to get them to hear how important it is, as you just said, to go to therapy and not think it's bad.
Right.
This was absolutely in the beginning of their marriage, and there was something that happened, it doesn't matter what, but it really drove a stake and separated them. I'm talking very early in the first year. But good for them that right away it was, we've got to go to therapy or I'm done. Like, I heard the word divorce being thrown out so quickly.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there on the friend side, right, with her, and thought, well, I wonder who he's getting a chance to turn to. I don't think he really had anybody. So he was all alone, struggling with this. But all I kept hearing from her was, I'm done. I want a divorce. I'm like, you just got married.
Right.
But I heard a thread. I always use it as a thread. But you have a thread, and I'm very big in design. So from a thread, what can we do? We can turn it into something absolutely gorgeous because we've got something to work with.
Yeah.
If there's literally nothing left, well, then it might be time to move on. But are you willing to find out if there's a thread left?
Yeah.
That's what she does. That's what they do.
Yes.
Oh, I just got chill.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And how fulfilling it is. Yeah, it's got to be hard because you're listening a lot of problems. But how fulfilling, though, I think at the end of the day to think, look what we were able to save. Or if it really does end up in divorce or division, you're at least helping them work on who they are for the next relationship, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I would never think that, me and my clients failed if the marriage ended.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, can we get you guys to split amicably without regret, without resentment?
Especially if there's kids involved.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is some people stay. Do you see that a lot? People, I guess it used to be a thing. I don't know if it still is, that people would stay in the marriage for the children only. Has it gotten better?
I think there is an improvement there. But I think people do still stay longer because kids are involved, which isn't always a bad thing. I mean, if you're staying long enough to work on it, it's a matter of like, are you staying in it for the kids and then doing the work, or are you staying in it for the kids and hoping that things get better, right?
Right.
You're going to have very different outcomes.
But in the end, it can't only be for the kids.
No.
Because that's not fair to anybody.
Yeah.
Because the
You gotta
kids
do
will,
the work.
yes, the kids will suffer. It's also the decision that some people have said, well, I'm staying because the kids are so young and I'm going to wait till they're a certain age. When is it ever? It's going to hurt no matter what.
Right.
But, if you're still working on the two of you or the entire family unit, then that means there's still hope. And that's what she's there for. So many people are saying, what a great topic. Thank you, Casey and Monica. You have a new fan in me. Oh, your mom said I have a new fan in her.
Oh, good.
Looking forward to your future shows. I know. We have so much more to do together. All right. So newoutlookstl.com is the website. We'll put it up on the screen if we can. There's the phone number, 314-626-5033. I'm hoping that I did the one thing for you that I think might be the hardest, which is when it's time that you have someone that you can trust. I hope you feel the energy off of Casey, that she genuinely cares, that she's been helping a lot of people, men, women, kids, the entire family unit, individuals. There's multiple levels that she can do. But that's the hardest thing. Do not just go online and be like, therapist. And you have no connection. Probably a lot for yous come from referrals, trusting, right?
Yeah.
So I'm asking you to trust, and I'm asking you to try to heal yourself. So, to your mama, and to anyone who's watching new, this is how I always end my shows. So we do 100 Days to Freedom. I love these books. So we did shame yesterday.
Yeah, I saw yellow was yesterday.
Yep. So anger is one. That might be a good one. Fear and anxiety, depression, and overeating. Which one resonates with you?
Oh, let's do anger because we see a lot of anger. People are coming in for therapy There's anger. And I'm
Anger.
always like, let's see what's underneath that.
All right. So 100 days to freedom from anger. And, oh, this one's day 17. It says, let it go.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do that when we return.
Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com.
Welcome back. It is 8:11 and we're in the wrap-up of our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten some aha moments, and I hope you find your way to heal. So day 17 of 100 Days to Freedom from Anger, and these devotionals that we do, by the way, are Stephen Arterburn. This one's called Let It Go. You have heard that our ancestors were told, quote, you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say if you are even angry with someone, you're subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, which we said earlier, right? You're in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you're in danger of the fires of hell. That's Matthew 5, verses 21 through 22. So think about yourself. Have you ever been so angry with someone that you uttered the phrase, I could kill you? You might have spent time thinking about how things would be so much better if the person you're furious with would just go away. But that seems like such a stretch that anyone would go as far as murder. The truth is that when we don't control our anger, our lives are in danger of being overtaken by it. Think of books or TV shows, even hit movies, often incorporate plot lines centered on the consequences of uncontrolled anger. So you might be thinking you would never get to the point of murder, but unintended anger plants the seeds of resentment and bitterness. Although you might never intend to harm another person, you must guard against murderous thoughts. So is there someone in your life right now whom you feel intense anger toward? If so, the path to freedom is forgiveness. To forgive doesn't mean you forget. It means that you release yourself from the grip of the offense. Forgiveness is for you, by the way. When you are able to forgive, you are no longer fixated on making the person pay for what they have done or focused on what you think they owe you. It isn't easy, but it is necessary, even required by God, that we forgive. Commit to clearing your heart and mind from whatever angered you. Begin the process of releasing yourself from the grips of what has threatened your life. And Nelson Mandela said, forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear, and that is why it is such a powerful weapon. Wilfred Peterson said forgiveness should start right now, today, this very second. Putting off forgiving only deepens the wound, and clinging to bitterness postpones your happiness. Life is short. How many times do I say this? Time is fleeting. Today is the day to forgive. So here's today's prayer. Father God, forgive me for allowing my anger to rule my life. I pray that you will help me as I forgive those who have caused me pain. Provide comfort for me in place of my need for control. Peace in place of my pain. Help me move forward in my life. And may all of this be for your glory. Amen. Pretty powerful, Casey.
Yeah.
What did you get from that devotional today?
That anger breeds resentment, and the only way to pull yourself from that is to find a way to forgive and let it go. And yeah, that's why I picked anger, because that's definitely a theme in a lot of the counseling I do.
So much anger, so much resentment, so much bitterness, and there can't be growth if it's hanging on. Again, not forgetting, because we build strength from remembering what we went through.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, trust me, I don't know your walk of life, but that's why there's therapy out there, that there's so many levels of hurt that someone's gone through. But you'll never truly living unless you find forgiveness.
Right.
And not giving power over all that past.
Absolutely.
All that chaos that was there in your life. Really powerful one today. Everybody, again, thank you so much. Well, great. I appreciate that. Somebody said such a good interview. Kathy Kilo Peterson, by the way, I saw her comment earlier. Are you a football fan?
I am. Yes.
Okay, so there's Kathy Kilo Peterson, by the way. We love her. She sponsors a lot of our segments. State Farm Agent Extraordinaire, kkilo.com, 636-561-6460. Jim and I transferred to her and have saved, Jim said, a significant amount of money. I don't even know how much. We're talking about finances. He was just like, just trust me from an auto standpoint and from our house. So I don't know why any of you wouldn't make the simple call, which is to get a quote. Let her look at your policy. And if it's like ours, why not have some more money in your pocket? So Kathy, thank you. Kathy commented earlier, by the way, that she would love to go to the Super Bowl. But before I wrapped up, I wanted to say this. She was talking about the price of the tickets.
Oh,
so she said $6,000, but what I saw on Channel 4 this morning, it was $9,800 is the average. The lowest ticket they were saying was $8,100.
Oh, wow.
What? Who's spending that kind of money? Who has that kind of money to go to a game?
I don't know.
The typical person going to a football game doesn't have that kind of money.
Everybody wants to see Taylor Swift.
Oh, I do not. I'm so done with this whole thing. Are you a Swift fan?
I am a
Are you?
Swiftie, but I am also a football fan. So when the worlds collided, I was fine with it. But I heard a conspiracy that the Chiefs are only going to the Super Bowl because the NFL set it up so that they could keep making money because everybody's tuning in because of Taylor Swift.
Correct. They said that
so
the
it's
demographic?
Like, maybe.
I know. There's so
don't
many
know.
conspiracies out there.
So many conspiracies. I'm just
Is
going to
it
watch
true?
and enjoy.
We'll watch it. The numbers will probably be higher than any game we've seen.
Yeah.
The amount of people that she's brought, young girls, young boys, moms that weren't watching before, all because they're big Taylor Swift fans. I think she's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. To me, yes, good for her. I'm glad what she's made in her career. I wasn't a fan of the bashing in her songs. The male bashing I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
So that's honestly why I didn't like her music. I hope she's better in that, but if something ends with her and Travis, I'm sure there's going to be a song about it.
I'm sure there will be. Yeah.
But it'll be a fun game. Again, that was another trending thing that I wanted to say before we wrap up. So Kathy, thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, I will instead stay home or go to somebody have a good Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
Invite me. I'll come out to that. I'd rather do that. The commercials are what I'm there for a lot, though.
Yes.
The commercials. I don't know.
fun.
They've kind of disappointed in the last couple years, though.
They have. I just catch the highlights afterwards.
Yeah.
The best ones are always posted somewhere.
Exactly.
So.
And it's usually, well, it used to always be the Anheuser-Busch ads that I always loved. The Cheeto ads, I think, were funny.
Yeah.
Or the Doritos ads. So it'll be interesting to see. I haven't seen anything released just yet because a lot of times you'll get little glimpses into what's coming.
Yeah.
Who's Usher?
Usher.
Oh, I'll be there for Usher.
I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Usher.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Casey, you were a pleasure. I do hope we
you.
can do this again. NewOutlookSTL.com. Make the call. Change your life, your couples, relationships, your entire family.
Yeah.
Let's get you back on a better path. 314-626-5033. All right. To all of you, thank you again. For all of you that are brand new, we do this every day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. We bring you hope in so many different levels. Tomorrow, a lot of you have asked me for this. From a fashion standpoint, I always try to bring in every level of our brand. So tomorrow, we're going to do a makeup tutorial. We're going to show you how to take it from a daytime look to a few small changes to that nighttime look from one of the best makeup artists that I know in our area, Sherry Anderson. I'm taking the show to her in Chesterfield. So I'll see you there bright and early tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in today, being a part of the show. And remember what I always say, no matter who you go out and meet today, shake their hand, look somebody in the eye, give them a compliment, and show kindness.
Yes.
God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in.